Week 6 of the NFL continues at pregame.tv. We've got the New England Patriots up in the Great Northwest taking on the Seattle Seahawks and the Pats. Marco opened as high as 4.5 in this game. They're now laying 3.5. The total sitting at 44 as we talk about this game. And Marco, we've got strength against strength in this one. You've got Seattle, who's held 4 opponents to less than 300 yards while ranking first in total defense. And they're going to match up against a Patriots team that has been on fire offensively the last 2 weeks. What gives in this one?
Well, I'm going to start it off. You know, I look at scheduling and situations, and this is a horrible spot for the Patriots. This is going to be their 3rd road game in 4 weeks. They play in, they're going all the way across country, traveling from New England to Seattle. Last week they had to play the Denver Broncos, a big hyped up game. Tom Brady against Peyton Manning, a lot of hype with that. But the previous games before that, they played a division game with Buffalo. They played a huge revenge game on Sunday Night TV against the Baltimore Ravens. That was the Ravens' revenge from the AFC Championship game. And so now they travel on the road. This is a non-division road game. We talk about this all the time. Least important on a team schedule. We understand every game's important, but there are certain situations that are less important, and they got a division game up next week. Going to one of the toughest venues in the NFL. I think Seattle's home field advantage is probably, I rate them, I don't know how you guys do power ratings, but this is one of the, if not the toughest, one of the top 3 in the NFL.
Well, let me ask you this much, Brian, because if you look at New England over the years, since Belichick's been there, the last dozen years or so, I mean, it's really been a case, and you made great points, it's really been a case, though, of you either play on New England in the month of October or you stay away from the game as far as the side is concerned, because for the past dozen years or so, this team has been covering 7 out of every 10 October games is how it breaks out. 70% cover, basically. And you're not also talking about a team that had to lay points all the time and usually lay more points than they should because of public perception. So there's no cheapies when you're talking about New England covering all those games. Do you factor that in at all when it comes to this game? Because we have a different looking New England team, a little bit different than we've seen in past years, passing the ball a little bit more the last couple of weeks, still the same head coach, still the same great quarterback, but now they go on the road, as Marco mentioned, in a real tough spot against a really good defense.
I've never been one of those guys that breaks down by month, that kind of thing. I could see early in the season, late in the season, that kind of thing. But I mean, why would?
Well, the reason I do that, I think it's because I'm with you. I don't do that often either. I don't care about what a team in baseball, how they do on a Wednesday or how they do on a Thursday or teams. But with the New England Patriots, the reason I bring it up is because they seem to get it going 3 or 4 weeks in when all of a sudden they're like a machine. And that's why I break it down. It's because all of a sudden they get those 3 to 4 games behind them, and it's like they hit that point every year. If it was just a couple of years, no big deal. But every year they hit that point where they just take off and start wiping teams out. And again, they're not getting points in those games. They're usually laying more than they should. That's the only. Otherwise, I completely agree with what you're saying with days or months.
I'd like to jump in. I think there's another reason for that. Belichick's been a guy over the years that goes out and gets these free agents and signs on.
It takes them a while.
It takes a while to gel with the team. And I think that's why, after that first month, you get them clicking better.
You touched on New England's offense just exploding lately, but their defense is exploding, too, in a bad way. I mean, you look at the last 3 weeks, they've given up 402, 438, and 503 yards of offense. This is a team who was supposed to be improved defensively. I'm not sure we're seeing that.
Right, and I agree with that also. Marco, this is your pick, your free pick of this game. What I'm going to ask you, though, is last week when I was analyzing the New England-Denver game on a couple of the shows we did, I think it was First Preview Radio, I had mentioned I can't wait to see, after Peyton Manning came off a 30-for-38 night the week before against the horrible secondary of the Oakland Raiders, wanted to see if the velocity was going to be on the football. Also wanted to see how Peyton Manning, he likes to step up in the pocket when he gets under a little bit of pressure and he makes pinpoint accurate throws. But I wanted to see how he was going to do when that man-child at nose tackle, Vince Wilfork, was going to come up the middle, that open lane, when Peyton Manning's stepping up in the pocket. That can create, bad throws. You can float it a little bit trying to get over Wilfork. Peyton Manning passed that test, so to speak. Russell Wilson has never seen anything like this coming at him from that nose tackle spot. I'm a huge Russell Wilson fan, as you guys know, going back a couple of years now. But if he's 6 feet tall, then I'm 6'6". Bottom line, he's probably 5'10", 5'11", and he has to make that adjustment with Will Fork coming right up the gut.
They do, but one thing that Pete Carroll's done with this team is he's kept Russell Wilson in situations where he can exceed. And fortunately, because of that defense, they haven't given up more than 20 points to any opponent this year. They've been in every ball game, so he hasn't had to strap the team on his back and have to win. Now, if New England comes in here and jumps out 10, 14 points early, then it changes the whole game plan. But I'm looking at this New England team, as you said, Brian, the defense is not solid.
Sure.
They've given up over 400 yards back-to-back weeks, and statistically, the stat here, I think they're doing it a little bit with mirrors, smoke and mirrors, because the last two games, which they've had big back-to-back blowout wins, well, not blowout wins, but last week's game wasn't as close as the final score indicated. They've had a 9-3 turnover margin in the last 2 weeks. You get a 9-3 turnover edge, you're going to win ball games.
A couple of games.
Yeah, you're going to win some ball games. So I don't think they're as good as they look.
Well, that's one of the things. I mean, we talk turnovers, and that's one of the things I like to concentrate on. You go back every year, New England always seems to end up the year with a positive turnover mark. So that's something sort of like the old Wisconsin teams that just run the ball up the gut. They're not going to turn the football over. They've got a quarterback that's pretty good there.
I think we've done about as much on this game as we can. Let's get your free pick, Marco.
All right. This is one of those ones that sometimes you got to hold your nose whenever you play it, but I always say it. The easier it is to make the bet, the harder it is to win the bet. We're going to go with the Seattle Seahawks. This is a tough home field, and I'll give you a stat. Under Pete Carroll, Seattle is 7-0 against the spread after scoring 17 or less points in back-to-back weeks. Also, Seattle 12-4 as an underdog the last 16. We're going to go ahead and make Seattle our free pick for Sunday.
Good stuff, Marco. Marco's free pick on the Seattle Seahawks plus the points. We've got more NFL coming up all weekend long right here at pregame.tv.
Because you said
I was going like this. And then as soon as I went to 3, you win.